All right, perfect. All right, welcome. Thank you so much for spending time with us. I'm still wearing the frog onesie.
I love it.
I forgot to change out of the frog onesie, you guys. This is what we do on here. They make me do silly things and dress up in costumes so that
I
they can get their money's worth when they donate to charity. Pro
I liked
streamer.
it. I felt underdressed.
No. I completely forgot. I was so busy making sure that all of our audio visual stuff was ready to go that I forgot to take off the onesie. You guys can make me put it back on later, or else I'm going to get too warm. I overheat in these things sometimes. I will say that. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I know everybody's excited to hear about Big Table, hear about you a little bit and what you guys do. So without further ado, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and just tell everybody how you came to start Big Table and what is the backstory, or in video gamer terms, what's the lore behind Big
What's the
Table?
lore?
Yes.
Um, oh, what can I say? I've always been obsessed with food. I grew up in a small town in Montana, and I was such an embarrassment to my parents because, I could eat more than anybody else by such a large margin that anytime we went out to, someone's house for dinner, I was just an embarrassment to them. And so my mom would pack peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, 2 of them, and feed them to me in the car just so that I wouldn't eat so much more than everybody else.
See, my
So,
grandmother would have loved you.
I would have loved your grandmother,
Yeah.
and I would have asked her for the recipe for whatever it
Yes.
was she is cooking.
Yeah, we could come
Um,
back from 3 hours of buffet, and she would still be trying to feed me.
yeah, those are the I would have loved your grandma
Oh,
for
yeah.
that very
Food
reason.
was love to her for sure. So
Yeah,
you've always been a lover of food, and then I'm sure that translated
yeah.
into enjoying dining out, probably, like a lot of people.
Well, yeah, and so I started, in college and grad school, I started collecting restaurant reviews from critics, and if there was a restaurant that wasn't incredibly expensive that they reviewed, I would read it first thing in the morning and then race out to that place to try one of the things that they talked about and taste it and try to see, okay, so here's how they wrote about this. Does it taste like, would I agree that it's a good thing? So I started doing that and eventually ended up in Spokane, Washington, and was asked to start doing some reviewing myself because I'd been an English major. And to quote the editor that asked me to do it, said, "Aren't you obsessed with food?" And in objecting to that word, I totally confirmed that I was obsessed with food. So,
Right. Exactly. Um,
so start
what's
writing
your
restaurant reviews.
favorite? If you had to pick one dish, if you had to pick one dish, just one dish that you could
One
have at
dish.
any time that you wanted it. Anytime you wanted it, you just thought about it, it would appear in front of you.
Oh my
What dish would it
goodness.
be? Could you answer that question? Some people have a hard time with that type of question, but if there's one that pops into
I
your
have a
mind, I'd
hard
love to know
question
what it
time
is.
answering that question. Um, well, um, anytime, if I could summon up sushi at any point, because that's hard to make. If I could just think about sushi and have sushi, that might be it, because it's hard to make.
Agreed. Sushi,
Um,
number one thing I love. Yeah, it is hard to make. It's hard to make it well. We've made it at
yeah,
home, but it's not
yeah.
easy to do it at home.
I made it at home, and I think I made the kids sick when I did that. So,
Oh no. Well, one thing people don't realize is that even if you're getting really, really, really fresh fish, it does actually have to be. Everybody who goes, oh, it's probably frozen. All sushi is flash frozen. It has to be. It's the law.
yeah,
So if you're not
yeah,
flash freezing it first, that could cause problems. But I'm sure it was probably still a fun memory for them, anyways.
it was. Yeah, we had some fun building it. So,
Hmm.
yeah, but that's like asking about your favorite child. I mean,
I know.
I you basically could say, "What's your favorite dish in this kind of cuisine?" And I'd go, "Oh, this that's it's the
Okay,
pad
sure.
see and Thai food. It's
Right.
yeah, whatever."
Oh, you like pad see you?
I do.
Um, I like curries. I love Thai curry. And if there's a
Mhm,
Thai curry, particularly one that involves seafood, I probably order that. I like a green curry
mhm,
with like mussels and clams and shrimp and the whole
mhm.
nine yards. And I like spicy food. Are you a fan of hot
Alright.
spice?
I've gotten better. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
growing up in small town
Yeah.
Montana, we had ketchup on our tacos. So, I've had to teach myself to raise the heat level a little
Wow.
bit over time. I thought of another that might actually top sushi.
Uh
Um,
huh.
Xiaolongbao, a soup dumpling
Ooh.
that originates in Shanghai that is phenomenal.
Oh, I don't know that I've had that. I'll have to seek it out.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Anything Asian food. I love Asian food because of the amazing balance of flavors in
yeah.
most of those
Yeah.
cuisines, even the ones where spice, like hot spice, is an element. They have
Mhm.
something else to balance it out, some sweetness and all the savory flavors and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a raid from somebody, and I'll just welcome them real quickly. Hi, raiders. We have alerts turned off today because we have a guest. My guest is CEO of Big Table, Kevin Finch. Thank you so much for the raid, Sampage. I really appreciate it. Everybody just come on in, sit down, and we're talking with Kevin about the backstory of the organization that we're
Mhm.
currently fundraising for. And we are accepting donations, and those are the only exception to the alerts being turned off because, of course, we would want to celebrate. Hi, Big Table. We would want
Yes.
to. Is that you or is that Carrie?
That's Carrie, I think,
Hi,
jumping in.
Carrie. So yes, so how did you come to start Big Table? Like what
Great.
what led from your love of food
Love of food to that.
to Big Table?
Well, so as I'm writing about food, mostly in the Pacific Northwest, inland Northwest, I'm about 5 years into writing about restaurants, interviewing chefs, talking to owners, spending time in restaurants. I would describe my it as my spidey sense went off, and for you, you're gonna totally get this, but it was like, man, behind the smiles
Mm,
of the folks working in restaurants and by extension hotels, I think there's more concentrated need than I see anywhere else in the community.
uh-huh.
It was just this kind of gradual something's off here. And I started digging into the statistics. This is 2006
Right.
and realized it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was way, way worse.
Oh no.
But it was invisible because everyone in the industry, to keep their job, has a smile on their face. And the guests that walk into a restaurant, walk into a hotel, they believe those smiles. So when you were serving, uh, you would walk up to the table. If you knew folks, you'd say, "Hey, do you want your rate your usual?" Or
Yeah.
"Hey, here's our special. What's going on?"
Yes.
And you might even be a little over bright, but you're bright because your job depends on them thinking you're fine.
Yes.
And so, for me, it took 5 years, but in that 5 years, as I got to know folks in the industry, I went, wait a minute, I need to look behind those smiles and pay attention to what's really going on, which is it's the industry that welcomes anyone willing to work. But for that very reason, it concentrates all the folks who are most vulnerable in the community under one roof. So you've got single parents, you've got at risk teens, you've got income insecure seniors, you've got new folks to this country who are still learning English, and a ton of people that, having made a tough decision or made a bad decision and ended up in jail for a bit, now have a
Hmm.
felony record and can't pass a background check anywhere else. So even when they're trying to put their life back together, no one will hire them except a restaurant or a hotel. And so all of those concentrated needs are under one roof. So you get things like incredibly high rates of addiction and broken relationships and poverty, unlike anywhere else in the country. And it's completely hidden behind the smiles.
Yes. It doesn't matter what kind of day you're having or
Right.
had
You got
or
to,
week or month or year.
right.
You have to
Yep.
show up to that table ready to entertain, to
Yep.
provide information. If you're, this, I'm speaking from primarily a front of house experience,
Right.
standpoint. But regardless, the kitchen guy's got to show up and work hard really hard too.
Right.
If they're at risk of losing the car that gets them to their job, they still have to process information coming at them from multiple directions, standing in front of
Yep.
hot equipment with sharp
Yep.
things, keep all that stuff organized in their mind, and think on the fly constantly and be
Yep.
prioritizing and reprioritizing and reprioritizing
Yep.
for hours on end. And they show up earlier, the kitchen guys, they show up earlier and they stay later than most of the other
Mhm.
employees.
Right.
Dishwashers too. Dishwashers are usually there really early and they're the last ones to leave alongside the bartender usually.
Yep.
So it's a lot. And when people are going through a hard time, you don't always know. And sometimes somebody said this the other day in chat, even their coworkers don't always know.
Exactly.
So it
Yeah.
is. It's a big issue and it is tough. And it I'll tell you, as a person who did this for so long, having the occasional customer like you who would get to know me, who would be a regular, who could see beyond the veneer that
The
I had to
smile.
present to
Mhm.
people, right? And would ask me with genuine concern, "Hey, are you doing all right today? You kind of just seem
Mhm.
like maybe things aren't you're not maybe 100%." And they wouldn't ask it in a way that was meant to
Mhm.
be insulting or critical of my service. It was
Right.
meant to invite me to share my real human experience with them, which is not a connection we can make with every single one of our customers. But when it happens and we can tell that the person has genuine care and concern for us, it means the world. And what you are
Yeah.
doing is taking that type of interaction and you're taking it to the next level. So I think that's a good, segue too into like, so this is your why for why you
Mhm.
started the organization. But how
Mhm.
exactly did you decide on Spokane for any particular reason as the first location? Was it just the one that seemed like it was your most experience that you had in restaurants?
It's where I lived.
Oh, at the time it was where you were living. Okay. I know you said you were from Montana, but I didn't know if you were living there or
Yeah.
not. Okay. Yeah.
But, so that's where I had the relationships and the connections. But interestingly, Spokane at that point, and it was one of the test markets for fast food restaurants because if something would sell in Spokane, it would sell anywhere in the country. Um, uh, because I guess we're a little curmudgeonly in Spokane and don't like change. So if we liked something, if we liked the Chipotle Ranch mango sandwich at Jack in the Box,
Shouldn't laugh, but
right? No, but if we liked it in Spokane, it
mhm.
would sell elsewhere in the country. Curiously, one of the cities we're in now, Colorado Springs, that is now one of the major test
Yes,
markets for
and I
fast
know
food.
this because I lived there and worked there in a restaurant, and someone said the same thing to me. I was just going to say that when I lived in Colorado Springs, people who I worked with in restaurants commented. The reason for it there, I think someone explained to me, is the large number of people who are there in government and
Yeah,
military
military,
and
right?
also
From all
Olympics,
over
and
the
so
place.
there's people from all over. There's a huge cross section of the whole country in Colorado Springs.
Yep.
Karen Day, thank you for the $25 for Big Table. Thank you so much, Karen, for the
Thank
donation. That's
you.
so awesome. We love you. Thank you, Karen. Thank
Yeah.
you. Oh no, there's a little sound happening, and I'll have to mute. I tried to turn all the alerts off, and they managed to get through anyway. You can't stop them. They're so used to rioting. I can do this, and it shouldn't be audible on stream. I can hear them though. Can you guys hear that? I don't think they can hear. Can you hear it, Kevin?
I
It's a
can't
little
hear it.
song.
No,
It's a
I'm
little song that plays when you do a specific no me. Okay, thank you. It's a little song. We have a whole thing about bread. See, I can't get away from food either.
thanks for the
So
bread.
I'll do it. I'll do it again for you later, Karen. This is part of the fun of Twitch is I get to use my theater background and my restaurant background all the time.
Right.
Because you know what? Some tables I'd walk up to and I would get the feeling from them that what they desired was very business-like service, and so I would
Mhm.
keep it,
Yeah.
restrained. And then other people I'd walk up and be like, "Oh, you want to have a party?"
Yeah, exactly. And you gotta read the
So
room.
yes, indeed. So Spokane was the first location, and
Yep.
then and like you said, because it's such a popular place for testing new fast food and probably other chain restaurant concepts. And
Yep.
my first restaurant job was Olive Garden. I was a Darden employee. My first two serving jobs, excuse me. I actually worked for
Yeah.
a small local place when I was catering when I was 13. So I've been working in restaurants since I was 13 years old. And
Hmm.
I've had a lot of different types of roles. But the corporate places are also stable. And so a lot of people will turn to them as employees because they know that that big corporate chain probably isn't going somewhere tomorrow.
Yep.
But they can be difficult to work for in some other ways, unfortunately, sometimes.
Yeah.
So there's how many locations now currently?
Four.
Right.
4 locations. I am in Nashville today, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm hanging out with our Nashville team. We've got San Diego, Colorado Springs, and Spokane. And I know you had said some people might want to have the question of how do we get Big Table to where they are?
Yes.
Um, there's a link on our website where you can just say, "Hey, I'd like to nominate my city," and that comes directly to me. And then I'll circle back and reach out to them and say, "Let's have a conversation, uh, and let's talk. Why should Big Table be where you're at?" So
Oh,
it's really
yes. Carrie,
simple.
please. Please go ahead and share whatever links you want. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Kevin.
No, that's fine.
I was just gonna say I put the link to the website in the chat, but if you have a specific link to that nomination process, Carrie, we would love that. Thank you. Yes, because people have been asking, Kevin. They have been asking
Hmm.
how do they decide what cities?
Hmm.
And so, do you would you like to outline quickly just the basic criteria for the
Sure.
cities that you're looking for?
The number one criteria is, do people want us to come? It's completely different if we just go, hey, we should be in that place. We had a team in Seattle for 6 years and weren't able to ever become fully sustainable locally. But Seattle was where we chose to go. No one said, please come. In San Diego, in Colorado Springs, in Nashville, people were saying, please come. So that's the number one criteria. It has to be a big enough community that would have a significant restaurant hospitality population. Another thing that we find is interesting is there's a difference between wealth in a community and generosity. Um,
Mm,
and it seems more important to have a community that is generous than a community that is wealthy. So
agreed.
there's we've got about 7 or 8 different criteria, but those are some of the really interesting ones. Once you get to a certain size, you're going to have a significant restaurant hospitality population.
Yes.
Typically, we like to see 8 to 10% of the workforce in the hospitality, and so just that it's a significant portion of the workforce.
Right.
Nationwide, restaurants tend to make up about 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if it's a lot lower than that, if it's like 5 or 6%, it's just there's less restaurants per people.
Right.
Um, so
It makes more sense for you to be focusing your efforts on places where a larger percentage of people would be
mhm,
served by your programs. That's just
yep,
basic math, and I'm sure you'd love to be able to help restaurant workers
mhm.
the world around, but it's important that we make sure,
Eventually, yes.
right, eventually, but we want to make sure that the efforts don't end
Mhm,
up that the task is not too gargantuan. Completely
yeah.
understand, because that's something that it's hard sometimes for people to
Mhm,
understand is the scope of your project may very well determine whether or not you're
mhm,
successful, and baby steps are better sometimes. It's good
yeah.
to have big dreams, right? But
Yeah.
so what would you say are the most pressing concerns that you have overall as an organization in terms of trying to expand these programs and make them more available? Make sure the ones that you already have are successful. Like how are these donations helping to improve the existing programs, and how could you what does it look like for possible expansion outside of the cities that you
Yeah.
currently serve? Do these donations we like to make sure people understand the impact that they're making with
Yeah.
the funds they're donating.
Well, the thing that's unique about Big Table and takes a little bit of communicating is that there's we do 2 things and we do them really well. One is we meet triage needs. So when someone is in crisis, that's how the referral comes to Big Table. Like you would as a server, you might notice a friend who's also working a shift or someone in the kitchen that's really struggling. You put in that referral to Big Table. So the person is never asking for themselves, someone refers them. We jump in to meet a crisis need then. But the thing that Big Table does and no one else anywhere in the nation does, even today, is then we continue to support that person, walk alongside of them relationally to build capacity over time. That's what changes their life. It's not just like helping pay rent or fixing a car or paying for a dental visit or something. It's that they're no longer alone. That there's someone that they know just cares for them and is interested in them as a person, not as a problem.
Yes.
And that's what we do better than anybody. And that's what literally changes people's lives, particularly folks who are relational enough to be in this incredibly relational industry. Um, Folks in the industry have a really good bull meter. They can tell if people care or don't, and we care. So that's what we do. So speaking back, going back to your donation, even someone that gives $10, what that does is allows us to sit down over a cup of coffee with someone, pay for their coffee, and listen to them for an
You
hour.
guys are paying for a coffee date with a $10 donation so that they can
Yeah,
get a grasp of what it is that the person needs in order to not just get out, like you said, not just get out of their situation temporarily, but
yeah.
what is
And then
the real issue here? Yeah.
at graded levels, $30 allows us to buy a bus pass to get someone to work if their car's broken down. Um,
That's
50
huge.
bucks pays for their phone to keep it from being turned off so that they can connect to their kids at school and connect to a job call in where they need, hey, I can get some extra hours to help cover my bills.
Mhm.
$100 is our favorite gift in the sense that we call it setting a seat at the table. It can You're paying for a seat at the actual big table for someone to come and sit, and then providing the care through the course of a year, for the folks who sign up to do $100 a month. Over that course of the year, it transforms a life. Um, so, at any level, that becomes very practical. Paying a utility bill, getting a grocery card to keep a family from going hungry on the weekend when that person isn't working shifts and can't bring home food. Um,
Yes.
and then higher up, keeping someone from being evicted. Over 50% of our referrals in every city this last year have been folks who are either about to get evicted, losing their home, or already homeless, still working and living in their car or couch surfing. Um, that's huge. Over 50% in every city. That's hundreds and hundreds of people that get referred to us. That's the need. So,
I have been technically homeless and the child of a restaurant worker.
mhm,
I have had to live with my mother's friends, with our family, while
right.
she worked sometimes 2 or 3 jobs, usually at least one restaurant job, so that she could save up enough money to finally get us a place again. And on more than one
Yeah,
occasion through my childhood, just to share a personal story, I have been there, and it's why I fundraise for you guys because I don't want
yeah,
anyone else to experience that if it's at all possible.
yeah,
It's a huge part of why I love your organization. Mirror, thank you for the $10. Mirror just sponsored a coffee date, you guys. Thank
yeah.
you so much, Mirror. I love you so much. You're so amazing. Mirror is a fantastic friend of the channel who does a lot of work for Starlight. And things
Awesome.
like, we work with all these organizations too that, for example, help families when their children are diagnosed with a catastrophic illness, which can sometimes also be the additional
Yep.
situation added into the fact that they have income instability that
Right.
results in them losing their housing on top of everything else. It could be them that's experiencing the medical care crisis. Like we
Yep.
watched a video the other day about the person who is, I think they were from Spokane, and they were talking about having all of a sudden had a health crisis. And they were like, if I hadn't had Big Table's help and assistance, I would have
Mhm.
vanished. And the way that they described that, I knew exactly what they were talking about. So that's so huge. It's again, and also just the feeling of being seen. And one of your most recent videos with the chef talking about how a lot of the people who benefit from your programs have been burned enough times in the past
Mhm.
that they have a hard time trusting that someone truly wants to invest in them as a person, not
Right.
just as a statistic. So
Mhm.
that's huge. It really
Often
is.
people will go, "What's the catch?
Yes.
Uh, what game are you playing?" And we say, to
Hmm.
the best of our ability, there is no catch. We want to care, period. No strings attached.
Right. But people do end up becoming involved, and I also saw the
Hmm.
video where there was a couple that had met through you. They
Hmm.
they're now a couple. They're married, and I think they might even have a kid. Or more
Hmm.
than one, and
Yeah.
that's just like, again, clearly that's not the
Right.
that's not your
Mm.
goal, but it's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing that
Yeah.
happened as a result of the fact that you are creating relationships with people.
Yeah.
So getting to know someone and feeling like they care truly, not just again because they need that person to fill that Saturday night shift, or they need
Yeah.
bodies in a kitchen or whatever. I mean, and that's a real thing with businesses for sure. But um, restaurant folk become very close to one another a lot of the time. It is not the easiest job.
Absolutely.
People would be like, your job is so stressful. I'd be like, well, I'm not an EMT or like a rocket scientist or, anything like that. But again, it's a taxing job physically and mentally. And,
Hmm.
a lot of people do not know what it's like to perform the duties of that job. So they don't always, like you said, they don't always see behind those smiles. And it's just such a lovely thing
Yeah.
that you're doing to try to see beyond that. So I know we talked about how people can nominate for different cities, but there is something that you do that is this is telling, and this is how I know that there is no catch. Um, Big Table encourages you guys to go out and spread hope to other people with the
Yep.
unexpected 20s, which does not come through their organization. It doesn't have anything to do directly with them, but it's about inspiring people to feel seen, to treat others as though they're being
Hmm.
seen. You have an envelope right there, so you were prepared. We love that. What's that like? Would you like to talk about unexpected 20s for a moment? I would love
Sure.
that.
So what this is it's actually technically called a tip envelope. It's a small envelope. And the idea is that you would get these. You can email us. You can go on our website. We actually have a form where you can print them out and make them at home if you're crafty, or you can we can send you some. The idea is you put a $20 bill in here and then carry it in your wallet or your purse. And when you're in a restaurant or a hotel, look for the person that's invisible, that no one else is noticing. So it's probably not Kelsey uh, running out there, kind of being life of the party. It might be a busser, it might be a hostess, it may be the dishwasher back in the kitchen, and as you walk back to the to the bathroom, you kind of peek into the kitchen door and you see this guy just with a pile of dishes. Um, all you do is you walk up about when you're ready to leave and just hand it to him and say, "Look inside. There's a gift for you." So it's not a tip, which is transactional. You gave me this service, and you but you uh, it's a gift. So that for that person, it is phenomenal.
Oh my goodness, I don't want to interrupt you. I really don't
Sure,
want to
interrupt
interrupt you,
me.
but something incredible just happened, and somebody just sponsored a
Wow.
$250 donation match. Your donations are doubled. Your donations are currently doubled. That's what that red square over the screen means with the 2X. Thank you
Sweet.
so much. Who did this? Kosher Bacon Jam. Kosher Bacon Jam, who was live last night after getting off work and making a beautiful looking shepherd's pie with Duchess potatoes to, oh my goodness, KBJ, thank you so much. Thank you for that. That's so incredible. All your donations are doubled over the next several days. Is it days? No,
Sweet.
4 hours. 4 hours. I think we can do it though. Holy heck. Robot Wizard just completed $100 worth of the donation match challenge. You just
Awesome.
that's 2 seats at the table, you guys. That's 2. You just did 2 seats at the table. That's $200. I'm so
Yeah.
thankful to you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's beautiful. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
they do
And
this to me all the time, Kevin.
that's great.
Don't they know I'm a sap? I'm a big sap. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much. That's so lovely. I mean, you could look at it that like, that's any number of equivalencies is what we like to call them. But the
Hmm.
real point is that it all goes to one really important and really great cause. So please take a look at that page that Carrie We can also post that in the Discord. We can post that in somewhere in the Discord for people to be able to access later about the unexpected 20s. Because back
Yeah.
to what you were saying, I think that's really an incredible thing to do. And I know that people did things like this for me. Again, just to bring my own experiences with serving
Mhm.
for 25 years. I had people who would see that I would give them the worst service, a regular. I would give them the worst service I'd give ever given them. But they could see that it was because we were so overloaded and understaffed. And they would tip
Yep.
me extra because it was the holidays. That's the spirit behind something like this. So you
Yep.
guys can go out and do this in your cities
Mhm.
and help people in this way. And I love that people can print their own envelopes off the website. That's so cool.
There was one where it was during Christmas, and one of our team members, Jill, gave it to the guy that was working the drive-through at a fast food place, and he actually went on our website after he said that and said, "I don't know if the woman who gave this to me will ever know it, but that totally changed my experience." I've got dyslexia. The worst job for me in the restaurant is working the drive-through line, and I was dying. And instead of yelling at me, she handed me an envelope that had $20 in it, and changed my it's changed my life. $20. I mean, that's unbelievable. So, on our website, there's all kinds of ideas of ways to use this that are really fun and really creative. If you've got kids or grandkids, oh my
Let them
gosh, you
do it.
tell
Oh, how
them,
fun.
you say, okay, we're giving this. You got to decide who we're going to give this to, and
Yes.
then they want
and
to. It's
and
just so
tipping your
much fun.
server
Mm.
handsomely, and but saying like,
Yep.
hey, we're going to take great care of you, but what we'd like you to do, see, I know that I would love that as
Yeah.
a server. And i would
Yeah.
be i would be like so excited to be able to pick a coworker and be like, oh man, I know that like our dishwasher has been struggling and has told me that he's got 10 kids and 35 grandkids back in Mexico who he's helping to support.
Yep. Exactly.
Like, and treats me like I'm an adult child of his, and treats me with care and concern, and is like one of the nicest. I'm thinking of a specific person right now, but like being able to say, here, take this. This is for you. Someone asked me to find someone in here who I thought would benefit from this. That it's just a gift. It's not a tip. It's a gift. And so that
Yep.
like they end up with the full benefit of something like that. So it's very, and it can, even $20 really can. It can not just turn someone's day around. It can
Mhm.
turn
Yeah.
their whole attitude about life around, just one person seeing them and caring for them
Yep.
like that. That's really cool. Thank you for explaining that.
Sure.
And I know that you have a limited amount of time today, so somebody asked this question and I pinned it, and we'd also like to you know um, find out, like, besides just the nomination process and all of that, do you have bigger future plans for Big Table? Is there
You bet.
anything you want to tell everybody about as far as your long-term goals for the organization?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the need is nationwide. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to move any faster than the doors open, but we want to have enough folks supporting us so that when a door opens, we can move into a new city and care for more people. That's the whole goal. Um, and there's cities bubbling all over the country that may be the next city, and you might get to be part of that by saying, "Hey, come here," and uh, so that's really fun.
Yes, definitely. I know Portland has, especially, the pandemic hit Portland pretty hard. There were a lot of little
Totally.
tiny restaurants in Portland that, were doing okay before the pandemic. There was a big, boom in the food scene there for a time. The place I worked at closed before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And Miro just highlighted and put the link right there for anyone who does have interest in bringing Big Table to their city. The direct link to that page of their website is right there in chat. Portland suffered um, a
Hugely.
huge blow when the pandemic happened, and I was actually, in a very strange way, lucky to have lost my job prior to that, because I was already on unemployment searching for a full-time job. I had literally worked one event with a local catering company and thought, oh, this could be a good fit for me, and they seemed to like me, and they told me, they were like, we'd love to have you come back and do more events with us. And I was like, maybe I could do just straight catering for a while. It'd be nice. It'd be kind of flexible and all that. Immediately after that, the pandemic shut everything down, and if you were lucky, you would have access to, packing to go orders as a front of house
Yeah.
person. And even most of the kitchen people were out of work because there's just no way. It's not really a viable
Instantly.
industry when there's a shutdown. So that was very, very hard. And several decades long established Portland restaurants closed as a result of it. But, I think things have bounced back fairly well there. However, again, the rising cost of housing in a lot of the cities on the West Coast is the major problem for a lot of
Right?
people, and that's what ends
Absolutely.
up happening. They cannot afford to work close to where they or to live close to where they work, and so then on top of that, they're trying to drive, and traffic is a mess in Portland these days. So there's all of these different factors that can compound, and then say they get an injury or they need to care for an ailing family member or something like that. So I think if this sounds familiar, if you feel like your city is a good candidate, another thing I would do too is, if you're involved in the restaurant industry in that city, that's a big plus because
Yeah.
it needs to be something that people, like you said, you were in Seattle, but it was because you wanted to be there rather than people asking you to be there. So it kind of does need to be a thing, I think, probably where, enough people from the city seem to desire your presence. And then that
Mhm.
way it's a relationship and a back and forth
Mhm.
and it's stable and
Yeah.
solid. Kevin, I really, really, really appreciate you taking, like I said, time out of your busy schedule. I know you're traveling,
Absolutely.
probably have other engagements today. Enjoy your time in Nashville. I was in
Thank
Memphis for Play Live Summit because we do a lot of fundraising for St. Jude. I've never been to Nashville, but I'd love to visit there someday. So hopefully I can come and visit with you guys in San Diego if I make it to TwitchCon this year. But
Yep.
it's been a pleasure talking with you, and I'm so happy that we're able to help support your
Mhm.
organization. And thank you, chat, for all of your donations so far to this
Yes.
campaign and everyone else's. I appreciate you all, everybody. Say bye
Mhm.
to Kevin. Unless there was anything else that you'd like to share with us today, I should give
Oh,
you a chance
here's
to.
the thing I'd leave people with.
Yes.
That on our website, we've got this thing called How to Care While Eating and Sleeping. So Big Table doesn't
Mm.
have to come to your city for you to begin to care for people the way we do. It's what we want to create is not an organization, but an organization that's at the center of a movement of people who see behind the smiles and care for folks in crisis. So,
I'm not getting emotional. I think that I spent too many years, having to have
mhm.
that like your guard up. And these
Yep.
guys have given me this space where I get to, openly be, um, display how much something means to me. And I will never, that is a gift that they've given me that there is no price tag you could ever put on it. And that's again how I know your organization is a good fit for us is it's not about anything other than spreading that hope and positivity to other people and making sure
Yep.
that the world is a better place because of your actions and your choices. It's
Yep.
it's it's huge. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Kevin.
thank you.
Thank you. I really
Have a
appreciate you.
wonderful rest of the day.
You too. And safe travels back home whenever you're headed back to Spokane. Say bye to Kevin, everybody. Thank you so much, Kevin. Bye bye. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Tangia paused. Tangia paused. Everything paused. Can you give me a second? Thank you so much. Thank you, Carrie. Carrie is here in chat on the Big Table O1 account. Thank you so much. Thank you, Carrie. I really appreciate you being here to help and to facilitate in chat and providing links, direct links to things. That's so incredibly helpful. Kevin was such a great guest. I'm not surprised.